What is contextualism? I'll explain it like this. So imagine that there is a toothbrush floating in space, a black void. And so this toothbrush doesn't have any use because there are no teeth, there's no surfaces to scrub or anything. There's no minds to perceive this toothbrush. And so it is just an object made out of atoms that is floating in space. So if you take a toothbrush in your bathroom, look at it, and imagine there's no teeth anywhere in the universe, it automatically becomes a tool for scrubbing crevices and whatnot. But then if we remove all things that could be scrubbed, basically everything, all material things in the universe, the mind has no idea what to do with this thing. It loses all utility. It loses all meaning, all purpose. It's just a thing, a meaningless thing. So everything depends on context. It only makes sense within the place that it is. Like I said, the toothbrush only makes sense if teeth exist or things to scrub exist. And I want you to apply this to everything, to cups, to DVD players, to clocks, to everything in the universe. And then zoom out and just imagine that the universe is just one solid object. And now apply this contextualism to the universe. And you'll see that the universe itself is just this absurd object that doesn't really make any sense. It doesn't have any context itself because it's just this thing where everything that makes sense exists within it. So it itself doesn't really make sense. It has no utility that is apparent, at least. But another question we contextualists should ask, or do ask, is why is the universe this way as opposed to some other way? Why isn't the universe just filled with metal triangles all over the place? No stars, no galaxies, no life, no planets, no noble gases, nothing but metal triangles everywhere. Why isn't that the way the universe is? Or perhaps a universe where there's just one supermassive table and a supermassive squirrel sitting on this table wearing a clown hat in a void that has purple polka dots floating all over the place, and the void is yellow. Whatever. Why not that universe? Why this universe? Whenever you start asking yourself these questions, you see that everything is completely arbitrary. It feasibly could have been those other ways, those other universes with the triangle or the table with the squirrel on it. But for some reason, which appears to have no reason behind it, the universe is the way it is now. And this is what's called contextualism. It's tied in with absurdism. It gives you a very strange feeling whenever it's not easy to do, but whenever you look at the world around you and the people around you and pets like my cat here that you can't see, and everything else, if you really focus and try to imagine these things completely devoid of context, then you'll see these things as just the strangeness. You'll see the strangeness that is there. You'll see just how like why is it that way? How weird is it? And now I want to ask you to apply this to a world where that was created by a god, that a universe that was created by a god. I believe that such a universe is just as arbitrary, just as absurd, um, and just as reliant on context. So you have this God that created everything, created humans and whatnot, but there were no blueprints for humans or anything. There was no inspiration. There was no thing that already existed that influenced this God's uh, creation. It just, they arbitrarily popped into the God's head. It's just completely arbitrary, even if there is a God. Um, you might say, no, this God was influenced by this or that. But then you have to ask, well, where did that thing come from? Like, what was it based on? Was it based on anything? And then it's revealed that that thing is also arbitrary. It just popped into existence. And so there's an infinite regress of just arbitrariness. It all had to start at some point where there was no context whatsoever. And in a way, that's the universe we live in right now. Actually, it is the universe we live in right now. There was no law, pre-existing law, saying that this is the way that things have to be. Or was there such a law that said things have to be this way? But then, where did that law come from? And what was behind it that said that that's going to be the law? So just something to think about. I'm not really sure if there is much of a use for this type of thinking, the contextualism it's called, and it's tied in with absurdism. So I've been talking to people saying that this is absurdism, but for me, I've always referred to this, like the toothbrush example, as absurdism. But absurdism is whenever we're trying to create or find meaning in a meaningless universe. You know, if there's a God, this God was creating meaning in a universe that was a blank canvas without meaning. So it's just fun to think about these sorts of things. So, what are your thoughts on this? Is there any use for contextualism and pointing out the arbitrary nature of everything? Most of my art actually is an exploration on this contextualism, absurdism, and things like that. I do abstract art, and you can find that if you. I'll put a link to my art, but you can find it Theodore Bola, paper cutting art, BOLHA. Thanks for watching.